Have you ever felt like you're surrounded by actors? I certainly have. People wear masks every day, pretending to be something they aren't. But here's the fascinating part. Once you learn to read between the lines, you'll see right through the act. I recall being in a meeting where everyone was nodding and smiling, but beneath those smiles were hidden agendas. It wasn't their words that gave them away. It was their body language, the silence, the small hesitations. Once you master these cues, you'll never look at people the same way again. Ready to discover what they're really hiding? Let's dive in. 1. The tell me more technique. This technique is like a superpower, but without the cape or the fanfare. And the best part? People won't even realize you're using it. It's simple yet highly effective. All you need to do is stay calm, listen, and when someone passionately shares their story, rather than interjecting with your own opinion, hit them with 3 small words. Tell me more. I stumbled upon this technique during a random argument with a friend over whether pineapple belongs on pizza. I was ready to counter every point they made, but instead, I chose to say, tell me more. What followed was unexpected. The conversation shifted from pizza to memories of family dinners, favorite foods, and even an old story about why they hated pineapple as a kid. It wasn't just about pizza anymore. It became a journey into their inner world, all from those 3 words. When people feel genuinely listened to, they let their guard down. Instead of defending themselves or preparing for a debate, they open up and share more than they intended. You're not just having a conversation, you're uncovering their deeper motivations, fears, and insecurities without them realizing it. I've used this technique in business meetings, with friends, and even with people I felt were being a little dishonest. During one negotiation, I kept using tell me more, and by the end, the other side revealed their entire strategy, giving me everything I needed. All I did was listen. It felt almost too easy, but this approach isn't just about getting more information. It's about creating real connection. In a world where most people are quick to speak and slow to listen, tell me more allows you to truly understand someone. It pushes you to set aside your ego and focus on their perspective, and that fosters trust and empathy. This technique reflects a key principle from Stoicism: observing without attachment. You're not trying to control the conversation. You're simply observing and understanding, letting the person reveal who they truly are. So next time you're in a conversation, whether it's casual or intense, try using tell me more. You'll be amazed at what people reveal, how much deeper the dialogue goes, and how easy it becomes to truly understand them. 2. Observe how they treat people with less power. If you really want to know someone's character, don't just look at how they treat you. Watch how they treat those they deem less powerful. This can be uncomfortable to witness because it exposes harsh truths about human nature. Whether it's the way they speak to a waiter, a cashier, or a junior colleague, how someone behaves around those with less power reveals their true self. I learned this the hard way. I once worked with someone who was always kind and respectful in meetings. But when we went out for lunch, they were shockingly rude to the waiter, barking orders as if they were superior. That was my wake-up call. It wasn't a slip, it was who they really were. They were only nice when it benefited them. People reveal their true nature when they think no one important is watching. If they're dismissive of a waiter or a colleague in a junior role, you can be sure that arrogance will show up in other areas too. A person who's kind to you, but rude to others, isn't kind. They're calculating. Stoicism teaches us to observe behavior objectively, and this is one of the clearest signs of someone's integrity. It's easy to be polite when there's something to gain, but true character is shown when there's nothing at stake. I now use this principle in friendships, work relationships, and even dating. If someone treats others with respect, regardless of status, it shows security in themselves. But those who look down on others are often projecting their own insecurities. So if you want to see who someone truly is, pay attention to how they treat those with nothing to offer. It's a direct path to understanding their real character. 3. The past is the key to the present. To truly understand someone, you have to take a good look at their past. While people often say the past is behind us, the truth is it still shapes who we are today, whether we realize it or not. Our experiences, traumas, successes, and relationships all influence how we think, behave, and even how we interact with others in the present. I once had a friend who was always on edge, defensive, quick to anger, and hesitant in relationships. At first I thought it was just their personality, but after learning more about their past, betrayal by loved ones, financial struggles, and a childhood spent constantly proving themselves, it all started to make sense. Their defensiveness was a shield built over years of feeling like they had to protect themselves from getting hurt again. The key here isn't to make excuses for someone's behavior, but to recognize that their actions are often reactions to unresolved parts of their history. Whether it's a fear of rejection or lingering trust issues, people often carry their past into the present. Stoicism encourages us to see things as they are, without judgment. Understanding someone's past helps us view their actions with empathy. Measure 4. Sudden tone changes. Signals of lies or hesitation. One of the clearest indicators that someone is lying or hiding something is a sudden shift in their tone of voice. Most people aren't aware of it, but our voices can reveal what's really happening beneath the surface. When someone speaks with confidence, their tone tends to be steady, their pace consistent, and their words flow naturally. But when there's a lie or hesitation, those patterns change, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. It's like their subconscious is throwing up red flags, hoping you'll notice. I had a coworker who was typically smooth-talking, always delivering with charm. But one day, during a discussion about a project deadline, his tone shifted. His voice, normally upbeat and confident, dropped suddenly, and his words came out slower, almost stuttering. I knew right away something wasn't right. It turned out he hadn't made progress on the project and was trying to cover it up. That change in his tone was the giveaway. He wasn't telling the full truth, and it was all in how he spoke. This happens because when people lie or feel uneasy about what they're saying, their mind and body enter a state of conflict. Their brain works to maintain the lie or hide uncertainty, but their voice can't help but reflect the stress. This might come out as a higher pitch, a crack in their voice, or a pause that lasts just a little too long. It's as though their tone is out of sync with their words. Think about the last time you caught someone in a lie. Did their voice suddenly get quieter? Did they start speaking faster? Or perhaps their tone became overly cheerful, like they were trying too hard to sound normal? These are signs that something is off. A sudden shift in tone is often a subconscious signal of discomfort, whether due to dishonesty, uncertainty, or insecurity. It's not just about spotting lies, though. A sudden change in tone can also signal hesitation or doubt. I had a friend who would get really excited about plans, but whenever I suggested something she didn't want to do, her tone would shift from enthusiastic to flat. It was my clue that she wasn't really on board, even if her words said otherwise. You can observe this in any setting: relationships, business deals, casual conversations. When someone goes from upbeat to evasive or defensive, it's time to focus not just on what they're saying, but how they're saying it. A dip in energy, a hesitation, or a change in pitch can be a subconscious cue that something isn't being fully revealed. Here's the deeper Stoic insight. People often lie not just to deceive others, but to deceive themselves. When their tone changes, it's often because they're uncomfortable with the lie they're telling themselves. That discomfort seeps into their voice, giving them away. Stoicism teaches us to observe without judgment, and this is a prime example of how you can use that power of observation. The most honest moments happen when they think no one's watching. If you want to understand someone at their core, observe them when they think no one is paying attention. These are the moments when people drop the social mask they wear to fit in or get ahead and show their true nature. It's an uncomfortable truth, but the person people are in public is often different from who they are in private. I once worked with a manager who was always professional when the boss was around, polite, calm, and never raised her voice. But as soon as the higher-ups left the office, she transformed, snapping at the team and making condescending remarks. It was jarring, and it taught me a critical lesson. The person someone is when they don't think anyone important is watching is often their truest self. When people are in the spotlight, they're hyper-aware of how they're being perceived. They act in ways that earn approval or avoid conflict. But the moment they feel they're out of view, the filters drop. You see it in small moments. How they react when they think no one's looking. How they treat people who can't offer them anything. Or how they behave when they believe they won't be held accountable. This applies in every area of life, from relationships to business to everyday interactions. Take romantic relationships, for example. Early on, both people are usually on their best behavior, trying to impress one another. But if you want to see who someone truly is, watch them in the quiet moments when they're not actively trying to impress. How do they treat the waitress at dinner? What are they like when they're stressed or think you're not paying attention? I've also seen this in social settings. You might know someone who's the life of the party when everyone's watching, but when they think no one's noticing, they become aloof or dismissive. Their true character comes through, not in the big public moments, but in the small, hidden ones. From a Stoic perspective, observing life without judgment is key. Stoicism teaches that virtue isn't about how we act when people are watching, it's about how we behave when no one's looking. Someone who remains kind, patient, and respectful when there's no one around to praise them is someone living in alignment with their values. Sadly, many people compartmentalize their public and private selves, behaving in ways that serve their image in public while letting their less appealing traits surface in private. The most honest moments aren't when someone's under the spotlight. They're when they think no one's watching. If they're only kind when others are looking, that kindness isn't real, it's just a performance. And here's the deeper Stoic message. True character is revealed in the shadows, not the spotlight. Stoicism teaches us to live in alignment with our principles at all times, regardless of who's watching. By observing others when they're unguarded, you'll see who they really are. Number 6, emotional reactions reveal priorities. If you want to understand what truly matters to someone, pay attention to how they react emotionally in different situations. Emotional reactions are like an unfiltered window into a person's soul. They expose their values, priorities, and the things they hold dear. We all like to think we're in control of our emotions, but the truth is, when someone reacts strongly, whether with anger, excitement, or anxiety, it's a sign that their emotional response is tied to something deeply important to them. Let me give you an example. I once had a colleague who was always calm and composed. Nothing seemed to rattle him. But one day, during a meeting, someone suggested a minor change to one of his projects, and he suddenly exploded. It caught me off guard, as the change seemed insignificant, but his strong reaction wasn't about the change. It was about how much the project meant to him personally. His emotional outburst revealed how deeply he cared, even though he'd never said so explicitly. People don't always tell you what matters to them with words, but their emotions don't lie. When a boss reacts angrily to a suggestion, it's not just about authority, it's often because their sense of self-worth is tied to being right. When a friend becomes overly defensive about a small comment, it's usually because it taps into an insecurity they haven't fully addressed. The key is that people's strongest emotional reactions reveal their deepest priorities. They may seem cool and detached in most situations, but when something important to them is challenged, their emotions flare up. This applies to positive emotions too, like when someone lights up while talking about their passion or side hustle. It's a sign that it matters more than they might admit. In relationships, this principle is incredibly insightful. If you notice your partner gets upset when plans fall through, it shows that quality time together is a top priority. If they get excited at the idea of future plans, it means shared experiences are important to them. Emotions are always linked to values. By paying attention to someone's emotional reactions, you get a map of their priorities without them ever having to spell it out. Stoicism encourages us to observe behavior without judgment, and emotions are one of the clearest indicators of what truly matters to someone. The stronger the reaction, the more it reveals about their internal world. Use this insight to understand those around you better and to navigate interactions more thoughtfully. In conclusion, reading people isn't about magic. It's about keen observation of their emotions, body language, and reactions. Stoicism teaches us to observe without judgment, and by doing so, you'll uncover the unspoken truths that guide people's actions.